This is like 2001 plus 20. Hi, everybody. Are you all out there? Are you all seeing this? I'm having so much fun with this Facebook Live. I want to make certain you can all hear me. Yeah, I see Marcia says, hi, Lynn. So I guess I'm on. This is wonderful. I'm so happy to be here. Woof. Hey, how about that 2020? That was a wild ride. That was a wild ride. And Danny says, hey, Ma. Hey, Daniel. That 2020 was a wild ride. And uh, guess what? We're going into it again. It hasn't stopped. That's not the end of 2020. Whatever was in 2020, it's moving right on into 2021. So we've got some work to do. We definitely have some work to do. I'm wondering if anyone's done any resolutions. I personally don't do, but resolutions, just that the word alone, resolution here, a firm decision to do or not to do something. She kept her resolution not to see Anne anymore. That's an individual resolution. A collective resolution would be resolve a formal expression of opinion or intention agreed on by a legislative body, typically after taking a vote. The conference passed two resolutions. That's a collective resolution. It's a quality of being determined or resolute. So when you say resolute, that sounds finite to me. Or when you resolve something, that's the end of the creativity of something. So I was thinking about new thought, which is what we are, it's what we practice, it's what we study. Uh, and the other side would be fixed determination and resolutions. So those two, think of new thought and fixed determination and resolutions. So to resolve something is a finite action unless it comes from determination and a mental environment to raise to the higher and the greater and willing to learn new things and learning new ways of being. So my goal tonight is to just give you some information to assist you in understanding two things. Three things? Okay, four things. Normal, what normal is, what new normal is, and what you are bringing into 2020, and to help you create somehow in your mind so you can move from this talk tonight into having some sort of template, a plan, a spiritual practice to move you into this 2021, which is not going to be an uncomplicated time in our lives. So let's get started. And let's get started with this talk with a quote, and a quote that's really appropriate to 2020, COVID and climate change and political upheaval and social upheaval and racism, sexism, and all different kinds of isms, separation and loss, terrible, terrible loss. And well, this quote that I'm going to give you says it all. It sucks, but it's going to say it all. If you want to know what you've been asking for, look at what you got. It's that simple. If you've ever seen me talk at the Center for Spiritual Living, Pleasant Valley, you've heard me say that a lot. And that brilliant, sucky quote is by my mother, Jenny Park Sheffer Wynn. And it's right on. It's right on. Somewhere energetically, we set a mold individually and collectively into which certain conditions were made to feel welcome. 2020. As inside, so without. So we didn't set our resolutions for 2020 to create a bunch of bad stuff. But we did move forward with a mental attitude fixed in our perception of what is normal. We foresaw a new year of hope and of abundance and relationships. This is what we foresaw. Relationships, creativity based on what we perceive around us in our lives and in our relationships and our communities to be normal, while at the same time we were maintaining our addictions to outer circumstances to sustain our sense of normal. I'm going to explain that a little more thoroughly, but there is a thing we call normal that is, I believe, an unreality. It's something manufactured. It's what keeps us fixed in the way we do things. And we who are students of New Thought have a tendency to rock the boat a little bit because we want to understand why we do things, and we want to do things authentically and from our divine, energetic, explosive, creative selves. I'm not addicted. I was talking about all of all of this is addictive. Their attachments. I'm not addicted. No, no, I'm not addicted to TV or good food or two cars and a warm, comfy house, and my struggle with my business, which is an attachment. Yeah, I'm married to that, and the three G's: the goodwill, General Hospital, and God. Those are the three G's. If you pushed me, I'd have to say that I've been lulled into a belief that this is my normal. Even though they appear to be simple pleasures, they are still attachments and they're addictions, and they tell me that this is who I am. They define who I am. And then there are the more complicated attachments, such as established systems and beliefs, the institutions that we believe were created to protect us and that actually do define who we are. So here's a confession. Out of all of those things that I mentioned, including the three G's, the goodwill, General Hospital, and God, I think I could live without all of those things, with the exception of my awareness of God as me, my awareness of my oneness with Source, my awareness with my oneness with you. I could live without that other stuff, not comfortably, until I understood what, or not in a normal sense, until I understood what my new normal was. So I asked Rep Pam if I could talk New Year's Eve, and then I realized that this talk wasn't going to be a talk about celebration and having champagne and hopes and setting intentions, although we will set intentions, but this is kind of heavy duty. So the title of my talk tonight is Foresight, Hindsight, Insight. So let's break it down. So number one is foresight. Foresight is the ability to predict, or the action of predicting what will happen or be needed in the future. He had the foresight to check that his escape route was clear. So we know we're intuitive beings, and we know that when I'm counting you all in, when we decide how we want to create a mold for good things to show up in, that we do it from our spiritual practices. So a year ago today, and I want you to get used to using the comments. I want to see what you're thinking, and maybe we could converse a little bit. A year ago today, how did you foresee 2020? Did you make resolutions? How did you commit to making those come into being? So write in the comment bar, did you make resolutions? Let me see. Just yes, no. There's no right or wrong, just yes or no. No one's writing. That's okay. Well, maybe they are. I don't know. Let me see. Oh, this is fun. Hi, Kelly. Oh, Kelly's here. Did you all see Kelly last night? Oh, that was a celebration. That was a big celebration. Hi, Rep Pammy and Marcia and Tamara Hitchcock Berger. And oh my God, a lot of people. So, right, yes or no? Did you do resolutions last year? I'll give you an example. Today they showed reruns of a lot of past Rose Bowl parades, and the second to the last one they showed today was the 2020 Rose Bowl parade, and it was the first day of January, like this is, and the commentators it was Mark Steinis and Lisa Gibbons, and they were darling and they're so upbeat, and they're saying 2020, it's already a wonderful year, it's going to be one. They're feeding this wonderful vision, and as they were saying that, I'm listening to it, and their television personalities, and what they were saying and the way they were saying it was like, it's what you're supposed to say in a normal situation. That's what you say. And we used to say everything is in divine order, and we know that divine order is a complicated thing because it's full of opportunities to work and to do the work and do the spiritual work. So that's my example of creating something without substance and without depth. It's just going to be great. So that's foresight. How did you see 2020 being, and what was your vision of it? And did you make resolutions and have an intention? And we'll talk about how that worked out for you. Hindsight, and this is a good one, understanding of a situation or event only after it has happened or developed. And in hindsight, I should never have gone is the sentence that describes hindsight. In hindsight, what did you put your focus on in 2020? Were your resolutions resolved, manifested? Have you acknowledged yourself? Have you acknowledged yourself for how you did that? Let's start with that before we go any further. You need to be acknowledged for being here tonight. You need to acknowledge yourself if you can, if you feel like it, for everything that you did in 2020, the commitment that you made, and the changes that you made, and the adjustments that you made. Let's start out right now in this moment by acknowledging ourselves. This was not normal this year, although it was what we were provided with. And let's look at that. Let's say thank you. That's hard to say. There's been so much loss, but let's say thank you for the opportunity, in hindsight, to have gone through all of this so beautifully the way I did. And let's acknowledge ourselves for that. So what did you get in 2020 that you didn't ask for in particular? You can write that in the comments if you want to. What did you get in 2020 that you didn't ask for? There's a bunch of that, I know. And it gave you something, and that's the next big word in this talk. It gave you something, many gifts, but one thing is insight. And the definition of insight is the capacity to gain an accurate and deep intuitive understanding of a person or thing. And you can raise your hand if you want to. I can't see it, but I'm raising mine. If you think that you were introduced to a new you in 2020, a new, not improved, but the revelation of who you are and the capacity for good that's within you. If that happened to you, yeah, raise your hand. I had no idea that I could be the person that I've been this year. There are some other definitions that go along with, this is funny, I'm not going to read them all, but there's like the 50. If you have insight, you have intuition, perception, awareness, discernment, understanding, apprehension, appreciation, cognizance, acumen, astuteness, persicacity. I'll have to look that one up. Sagacity, sageness for those seniors out there, discrimination, judgment, shrewdness. It goes on and on and on. Vision, farsightedness, prescience, prescience. Forget you heard that, okay? Horse sense savvy, sapiens acuteness. You know, these are things that when you acknowledge that you have insight and that 2020 has given you a tremendous gift, then you have to go deeper. We have to go deeper in our thought about how we create resolutions to move into a new world that that hasn't been normal, has never been normal, and it's about to be a new normal. Has your hindsight 2020 given you insight into your own mastery, your own new purpose, your new normal, where you are being who you are being defines those things to which you are attached and addicted. So, how much of who you're being is part of what you think is the way you're supposed to be? I don't know. I'm working this out. See, I'm working this out for myself. Could our collective awareness look very deeply into changing the systems and beliefs that have defined us up until now? This is a heady question. And so on Facebook, I love Facebook. I have a lot of wonderful friends and I learn so much. And it's not where I get my news, but I see a lot. And I think it was yesterday, a woman was talking to one of our ministers, and she wrote in Facebook, uh, I'm going to read a little bit of it to you. I'm uncomfortable reading a lot of it because it was personal, but the first sentence, this is not a popular opinion, but I bow to 2020. They say a diamond is just a piece of coal under pressure. I have been under pressure for a long time. 2020 made me a diamond. She talks about her relationship with herself, and she thought she was woke, but the rubber hit the road in 2020. And she really, and wonderful woman, didn't think she thought she knew herself, and she didn't until she found out the strength and the power that she had with some heart-wrenching situations that happened in her life. She says she's more kind and more not judgmental. She's patient, more willing to risk, looking good to innovate. So that's what 2020 did for this woman. My life, she says, priorities got aligned in 2020. It was a hard teacher, but I learned the lesson. So we can, now this sounds funny, I suppose it's not funny and I'm not being cavalier. We can understand and look at this last year, love it and bless it. Thank 2020 for what it brought into our lives to teach us and to enlarge us and expand us. And then, and as I'll read you later what Jim Lockhart said, creation requires destruction. And so we will need to just let go of a lot of old ways of being. If it's General Hospital, I might fight tooth and nail, but I'll live without it if I have to create a brighter, newer, more productive world that's sustainable, a world that we can all live in particular, a world that my grandson can live in and my children's children. Bringing that good into your spiritual practice from 2020. And it's yours. It's not my journey. I'm talking to you about I'm working on this myself, but this is your journey. These are your things to think about. This is a new world is emerging. And I know a lot of us have said this, and I believe this with all my heart. I chose to be here. I'm here for a reason. I have a great purpose. This is my time. And at my age, I get to bring my beliefs and the way I do things to others and maybe help them. There are a lot of people my age who feel motivated, who feel inspired, that this is their time too. Pretty darn heady stuff. And that's why I'm talking to you about this, because if anybody can embrace all of this and allow this goodness and this truth and this intelligence to come through and express itself through and by means of, it's you. Because this is your time too. You chose to be here. I'm going to give you some quotes from Jim Lockhart's and Buzz. It's New Thought Evolutionary with WordPress, so it's right there in the comments, so you can connect with that wonderful blog of Jim Lockhart's, The New Thought Evolutionary. And I've been working on this talk for a few weeks, and then his New Thought Evolutionary came out this week, and it's just like only much deeper, much more Jim Lockharty than Rev Lynn, and it's brilliant. Here's a quote in the New Thought Evolutionary right now about this very subject. Each of us is having an individualized experience of these larger issues. The basis for that experience is our emotional system called the limbic system in our being. We were feeling creatures before we were thinking creatures, and emotions are key to our experience. So I think it's important that we do get in touch with how we're feeling. And we know that comes from our spiritual practice, meditation. And Buzz and I, Buzz is my husband, we watch Reverend Pam Gagan's wonderful inspiration every morning, 9:15. I wake up, I turn on my phone, and there's Rev Pam, just putting everything into perspective, and wonderful meditation. That's part of my spiritual practice. And Jim Lockhart's blog is part of it too, and all the wonderful friends I have on Facebook. Jim Lockhart says that we're in a new cycle. 2021 is a new cycle. When we enter a new cycle of life with unfinished business from previous cycle, we are inhibited in our growth and success. The end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021, get ready, is an artificial moment in time. But it is a cyclical moment which we recognize emotionally. Dragging our unfinished business into the new year is never a good idea. And this year, it may be more important than in other years for so many of us. Yeah, so we're going to have to bring those things forward, kicking and screaming, and understand them and look deeply into them, poke at them, these ugly things, and release them with love and bless them. Do you have a system for releasing what no longer serves you? I just want to see in comments, just yes or no, in the comments, do you have a system that you use for releasing what no longer serves you? And if so, what's the most powerful step in that system? If you write it down, it might help somebody. Kelly says, wow, you like definitions too. Golly, Kelly, when I started speaking as a minister, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, first thing I did to get a structure in my talks was to understand every word used. And I've done that for many, many years, short of coming to the podium with a dictionary. Yeah, that's something that I love. So what is your system for releasing that which is no longer serves? And what's the most powerful part of that system? That's just as for you. If you jot this down, then this is for you. And this will help you create the template for understanding your new normal. Oh, Pamela Gagan says, I also am a Lockhart groupie. We all love Jim Lockhart. And so have you brought lessons and gifts from 2020 into 2021? That's almost a cheat, because you know you have. If you're watching this, I know you have. And you're already blessing people with your insights. And here's a good one. This is the one I mentioned earlier, that creation requires destruction. This is from Jim Lockhart. Creation requires destruction. Evolution is the vehicle of large scale creation in our universe. Evolution means that something does not exist, and then it does. This radical newness can only occur when what came before is destroyed or radically reconfigured. Life exists because the necessary heavy elements to make it, which did not exist, all of a sudden, kaboom, the Big Bang. So that's my little talk. It was kind of heavy stuff. I want us all to be on the same page, that this is our calling. We know we're here for a reason, and we chose to be here at this time. So let's do it with our great intelligence, and let's do it with joy and laughter, and create a world that works for everyone. We keep saying it. So now this is our job. This is our job to do. This is mine to do. This is yours to do. It's to create a world that works for everyone. And it's an inside job. So you can make your resolutions. And as you're making your resolutions, that individual revolution that Kelly was talking about last night, while you're making those, do it with love and the insight that you bring in from this experience that we've all had, individually and collectively. And we will create a world that works for everyone. One more quote that ends Jim Lockhart's blog. It's beautiful. Our blind spot from a person or people point of view keeps us from seeing that we do indeed have greatly enhanced direct access to the deeper sources of creativity and commitment, both as individuals and as communities. It is one of our most hopeful sources of confidence because we can access a deeper presence, power, and purpose from within. Yeah, works for me. So I'm so grateful for this opportunity to be here and to just to be with you. I'm very, very grateful. And in this moment, I do want to thank Reverend Pamela Gagan for her support all these years, and for the light that she brings. And I know this is being said a lot. Those of us who, if you want to call yourself a light worker, we're on the front lines now. We're light warriors, and we're doing this. We're doing this, and we're loving it. And I want to thank Pamela Gagan for giving me this opportunity to be here tonight. And thanks to Buzz in the other room. And you've got the contact information for Jim Lockhart. All right. I love you, each and every one of you. And so begins the lesson.